Hello, grade 3/4s. For science today, we're going to continue to explore materials and properties. Now, you guys might remember that last lesson I had you look at some different clothing, and you had to see what materials your clothing was made out of, and then talk about what properties those clothes might have. For example, a lot of you discovered that the material that many of your clothes were not necessarily natural materials like wool or cotton. In fact, the most common one that we've seen is polyester, which is actually a man-made material, which is actually made out of like a plastic. Okay, it's actually like a plastic material. And that's certainly what we found with the majority of our clothing. However, all those different clothing have different uses, and the different materials are good at different things. Some are more comfortable, some are warmer, some let the air through nicer and are cooler. They all have different uses. But anyways, we're going to continue exploring materials today, so I'm just going to switch over to my screen here. And here are our two main concepts that we're working with. Materials, remember, this is basically, when we're talking about materials, we're talking about what something is made out of, okay? And when we're talking about properties, we're talking about what can that thing do? What special things is that thing good at? For example, a property of your warm woolly jumper is that it keeps you warm and that it's fairly comfortable. Okay, but it's also not as smooth and silky as like something else that was made out of cotton, perhaps, or polyester. So different properties are good for different things. Now, to give you a different example, something that's not clothing related, I wanted to show you a picture here. Here, I'm just going to put it up. This one here. Okay, here I've got a picture of a space shuttle. Okay, now when they designed the space shuttle, they don't use them anymore, but when they designed the space shuttle, they had to think carefully about what materials they would use. For example, if they used steel to cover it in, that's nice and strong, but it's also very heavy. And that's not good when you want to fly into outer space because you need something, lighter to get up there. Also, steel, when it would get too hot and would start to melt and bend and lose its strength. So steel wasn't a good thing to make many parts of it out of. Okay, so they had to really think about what materials they would use so that they chose materials that had the right properties so that it wouldn't break or have accidents. Now, the example I want to give you here is, see the black stuff all on the underneath of the space shuttle here, and there's little bits around here and on the fin there. Basically, all this black stuff is what we call a thermal tile. Basically, they're a type of tile. They're not super strong, but they are very good at controlling the temperature. They don't get too hot. Okay? Because if something gets too hot, it'll burn up your space shuttle and everyone in there could have a terrible accident, which has actually happened. There's actually been a case where some of the thermal tiles have become damaged and the heat has got in and it's caused some big accidents. Okay, so this black tiling they put around here is really good at not getting too hot. That's its special property. Now, the reason we need that is, here's a picture. When the space shuttles come back down to Earth, they're going very fast, and as they push through the atmosphere, push through the air, it goes through so fast that it makes it burning hot. So hot that without those tiles, the whole space shuttle would burn up. Okay, this atmosphere is really good for us. So if a meteor comes down, the atmosphere burns up the meteor and doesn't hit, and everyone's fine. But we don't want our space shuttles to burn up, so we put on those special thermal tiles that are really good at not getting too hot. Okay, and I've actually got a video here demonstrating this material and this special property of not getting too hot. You watch.
On them, but what we do have is we have the raw 9-pound material that we use.
Okay, so you can see these cubes here. These are examples of the thermal tiles. Okay, so they're fairly light and they look, they can be made in different shapes, but that's the thermal tiles that are good at not getting too hot. And what they've done is they've put some in the oven. Let's watch.
Now these have been in there at 2200 degrees for hours. So you'll see they're blazing hot. Now most things if you put in
Okay, now as he said there, this oven has been at 2,200 degrees for hours. This is way, way, way hotter, 10 times hotter than what your oven at home does. Okay, so this is blazing hot. It's been in there for hours. So hot, it's glowing red. And they've put those special thermal tiles in there.
In an oven, like if you put a frozen pizza in, it would disintegrate after a couple minutes. So these things have been in there hours. If you put in metal, it may, if the metal did not melt, at least it would conduct the heat and keep the heat for so long that you couldn't get near it, well, within hours. Well, look at that.
Okay, so this material is so good, its properties of it are so good at controlling the heat that even after being at 2,200 degrees in the oven for hours, he's actually able to pick it up with his hands and it doesn't burn him. And that's how the space shuttles manage to get back to Earth without burning up and everybody dying. Okay?
You can take this off. It dissipates the heat so quickly that you can actually pick these up while they're glowing, molten in the middle.
Glowing hot.
So they were in the oven at 2,200 degrees. Wow. So you can go ahead, you can pick them up and take a picture. Just make sure you don't pick it up on the edges, just at the corners. Just at the corners. I just don't want to get anybody. Yeah, there you go. That's it. That's perfect technique right there. Now you'll feel the warmth, which is.
Very cool material with some very cool properties. Okay, so anyways, now that we've had to talk about something different, we're going to get to our activity for today. Now we're going to continue to explore materials and properties, and I have an activity for you on Google Classroom. Okay, now the activity looks like this here, and we're choosing to examine some gloves. Now, we have gloves for lots of different reasons, and so I've put together 9 different gloves, all that are for different purposes. Okay? And this would work much better in class if I could actually get you to feel and hold and touch the gloves, but we can't do that, so you're just going to have to sort of do your best. And I want you to go through and make your best guess. What do you think these gloves are used for, and what properties do they have? Okay, let me give you an example. I'll just zoom in here a bit. Okay, so this first pair of gloves, if you get stuck, you can ask someone for help, but it's more just to get you thinking. Scientists have to do that a lot. They have to look and think, come up with ideas and hypotheses. Okay, so let's have a look at this first pair of gloves here. Now, some of you might recognize what these gloves are for. Okay, so it says here, what do you think these gloves are used for? Okay, now let's have a look at them. Okay, they're pretty fat and big. Their material looks a bit interesting. Okay, now I can tell you that these gloves are not dancing gloves. They're not for people to wear on their wedding. Definitely not. Okay, so we're not going to write here wedding gloves, are we? No way. Okay, that's not it. I don't want to tell you what they are, but I want you to say, what do you think those gloves are used for? Write it here. And then write down here, what properties do you think those gloves have because of the material they're made out of? Okay, are they comfortable? Or are they strong and sturdy? Or are they light? Are they easy to move your fingers in? Are they waterproof? Are they cool? Are they warm? You tell me, okay? I just want your ideas. I'm happy for you just to dot point just some ideas for these. You can write a sentence in there if you have some little things that they use that you want to say about it. That's great. And so for each of these 9 gloves, what do you think it's used for? And what properties do you think those gloves have? Okay, I've got a bunch of the different ones here, so same for all of these. Okay, down. Now, some of them you might get to and you just might not know. Take a guess. I'm going to tell you the answers next lesson. So at the beginning of next lesson, I'll go through and I'll be curious to see how many you got right. Okay, more here. and more down here. I've put some tricky ones in, but it's not a test. It's a bit of fun, and I want to get you thinking. Okay, boys and girls, I'm going to leave you to your activity, and I look forward to seeing you guys soon. See you later.